Hey, it's Mansoor. You're listening to First Exit to Springfield. I'm here with Wordplay. TJay, what's happening, man?
How you doing? How you doing? And what's up to your audience, by the way?
Yo, thank you. Yeah. Big up the audience, big up the listeners as ever. They make the show. Where in the world are you joining us from?
I am joining you from Seattle, Washington, pretty close to there anyway. And I'm originally from Little Rock, Arkansas, in the middle of the country. So if no one knows anything about the United States, it is smack dab in the middle of the country where I'm from, and it's a small town.
All right. Well, yeah, that's cool. Well, you're in the extreme northwest now, in Seattle, right? I was in Seattle a couple of months back, man. I did not see any Bigfoot sightings, but I did ride the monorail.
Did you? What attractions did you go to?
I saw the Space Needle, and I had a ride on the monorail, and I think that's mainly it. I went to the first Starbucks, right? The first ever Starbucks.
Yeah. That one's pretty nice.
Yeah. It's and they got a crazy Starbucks that looks like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Yeah, they're starting to open up like night times.
Check it out if you're ever there, folks. Yeah, folks. So if you do not know, Wordplay TJay is a recording artist, hip hop rapper. He's pretty dope. Check out his music. Where can they find you?
They can find me anywhere music is sold. If you type in Wordplay TJay, then I'm all over the globe as far as retailers are concerned. So iTunes, Spotify, Apple Music, all that jazz. I mean, Sick. You can't miss me if you Google it.
For sure. Check out his YouTube as well, man. Plenty of stuff on there. All right, man. So I like to warm up by asking my guests how they got into the show The Simpsons. So tell me your origin story here.
So I grew up with just kind of my grandparents, really. And so at night, especially like Sunday nights, that type of thing, we would be kind of parked in front of the TV as a family, and eventually we'd be watching, we'd be watching Fox Network, and then The Simpsons would come on, and it's something that's been around just about as long as I have. I think that what they started 87, 88, somewhere like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And so I was born around that time, and so it's always been around as long as I have. And The Simpsons was just a ritual that we would watch every week after week, and it stuck with me until this age.
That's a really heartwarming story.
Yeah, it's cozy.
Families bonding over all that, right?
Yeah.
Did the show reflect your family much? I mean, they're a pretty crazy family, I guess, like all families are. But did you kind of see some parallels? Is that why you could all watch it together?
Well, that's the funny part, is that there were no parallels between The Simpsons and my family. Like, coming from a traditional Southern black home,
right?
Like, The Simpsons was the last thing that most black families probably would have been watching.
I bet. Oh, man.
So it's weird.
Absolutely. Because it came out around the time that like the Cosby Show was at its peak, right? And that
right.
If that's kind of that aired at around the same time, right? So it's probably easier to just flick over to another channel and see something that's maybe closer to the African American experience on screen. Does that sound fair? I don't know.
That's pretty much what it is. Is that generally black families in the South, like, we tend to just care about things that we can relate to. So like Family Matters and other shows of that ilk. If we can't relate to white families, for lack of a better term,
sure,
then we'll just turn the TV away.
Yeah.
And so things like Simpsons, Family Guy, like, I don't know that there's a lot of black families that watch these things. Yeah. Maybe more black families in the South, like, we tend to just care about things that we can relate to. So like Family Matters and other shows of that ilk. If we can't relate to white families, for lack of a better term,
sure,
then we'll just turn the TV away.
Yeah.
And so things like Simpsons, Family Guy, like, I don't know that there's a lot of black families that watch these things. Yeah. Maybe more so now than in the past when I was younger. But I mean, it just didn't hit the nail on the head, but it was entertaining to me because I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah. No, I hear that totally, man. Me as a black Brit, I can tell you the same, man. I grew up watching like the Fresh Prince and all of that. Like it's a lot more relatable. Yo, I never watched Family Matters. Is that the Steve Urkel? Is that the one where
yeah, that's it.
Where it kind of became the Urkel show, but basically he kind of took over. That's crazy, man.
All the merchandise was just Urkel. The cereals. Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild, man. That's cool. Yeah, thanks for that, man. That's a very pleasant story. Cool. So here's the loose structure of the show, and I mean loose. Basically, you're going to tell me your top 3 Simpsons episodes, and we'll go through them one by one, and we'll digress wherever the mind wanders. Does that sound good?
That's perfect.
Cool. All right, man, kick it off for me. What's your first episode?
So the episode that really resonates with me the most is Happy Birthday, Lisa. So like when Michael Jackson.
Oh, man, that's beautiful. How has that not come up already? That's crazy.
Yeah. It's because my family... And this is probably why I really got into The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Is because my family is full of musicians.
Yeah.
My dad played saxophone, and he was really into Michael Jackson. And so I saw my dad when I watched that episode and other episodes, you know. And so that kind of turned me onto it. And so, you know, Happy Birthday Lisa is an iconic song that you'll like never forget. Never forget.
Absolutely.
And so that's where it started at.
Cool. So for the listeners, the premise is this is the one where it's
from what my remembrance is that Homer gets sent to like a mental institution.
Yes.
And then he meets Michael Jackson in the mental institution. Michael Jackson looks nothing like the actual Michael Jackson.
He's like a bold white dude.
Right. You're like, is this really Michael Jackson voicing this character? But it is.
Yeah.
And so later on, they try to get Homer out, and they call Bart, get Homer out, and Michael Jackson sings Happy Birthday eventually to Lisa.
Yeah.
That's what I remember of
No, I think you summed it up perfectly. It's a beautiful episode. To your point, so this is the crazy thing, right? It was Michael Jackson doing the voice, but they didn't credit him as such. But you know what's interesting is that he didn't do the singing parts, I think. Did you know this? So he did.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But he wrote it. He wrote the song, right? He wrote a different song. I know he wrote the Bartman.
Oh, wow.
For sure.
Okay. All right. Yeah, he's all over the place. Yeah. So I don't know if he wrote that song, but he didn't sing it. They got somebody to kind of imitate it. I think it was like a record label conflict, something with Sony that didn't let him sing on the episode, something like that. Gotcha. But I'll tell you why I know this to be true. So I don't know if you saw the latest episode aired, and we're recording this kind of December 2017. In like season 29, they bring him back. He reappears, that same bold MJ character, and he starts singing "Happy Birthday, Lisa" again.
In the latest episode?
Yeah, in the latest episode. It's weird. I mean, the whole of season 29. Yeah, definitely watch it. The whole of season 29 is all about throwbacks. Like they bring back the monorail, the pin pals. It's all crazy. But yeah, they bring back this MJ guy, and he sings a little something.
I assume that's because they've shown all the episodes on FX, and now they have this following of people that have seen all the episodes in marathon. And now they're calling back to everything. Is that maybe why?
No, that sounds probably likely. Yeah,
that's a good theory.
Absolutely. Man, we don't have FX over here. I really have to search if I want to watch it. It's crazy. What I love about this episode is that there's a lot of like hidden references, like in a mental hospital. Like it's kind of like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right? They got
kind of alluding to Michael Jackson's kind of state as a human.
Yeah. And also there's this like this Native American character in the hospital or something. Am I remembering this right?
Yeah.
He's like, the whole thing is kind of crazy.
It resonated so much because I grew up on Michael Jackson's music. And I
Oh,
like the fondest memory is watching Remember the Time in the
yes.
middle of the front room and seeing Eddie Murphy and seeing like all the Egyptian things.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
whole theme of this that music video really intrigued me as a kid. And
yeah,
so when I think about like all these things that relate back to Michael Jackson, there couldn't be a better representation of Michael Jackson in my mind on The Simpsons.
yeah. The whole Leon Kompalski thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, absolutely. I think that, I appreciate that fully. Like MJ is like my favorite musician of all time. Like I'm like, I'm fully. I'll probably bump in some of his music earlier today. Have you ever seen?
He's incredible.
Oh man, unparalleled. Have you ever seen the like the theater show Thriller Live?
No, I haven't. I haven't. The one thing about Michael is that surprisingly enough, like I I love his music, but I mostly appreciate the things that are nostalgic for me.
Oh yeah,
It's just I don't know, the live experience was always something that I like I tuned out because I want to see it. And
Hmm.
now I don't get a chance. I won't ever get a chance to see
Oh
it.
man. Well, this is it. Go see Thriller Live if you're ever on.
Okay.
If you're ever in New York, I think it's probably on Broadway. Or if you're ever in London, it's definitely on in the West End. It's
Okay.
it's now that he's passed, it's the only way to see like high quality production of his music.
I will be down to do that. I'm trying to plan a New York trip right now.
Oh, do it. Stop by and watch that. I'm just trying to plug this so I get free tickets. I've seen it like 3 times already.
Hit him up.
That's cool.
Hit 'em up.
Yeah. This is speculative. That's cool though, man. But so what's the B story in this episode? I'm trying to remember, right? Like the MJ thing is like the A story. Is there like a subplot going on in this episode? Or?
I can't remember it. I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
if it has something to do with Bart and Lisa's
Oh
story.
yeah.
The whole reason why he's singing "Happy Birthday" in the first place.
Yeah.
Um,
I think they get into the usual conflict, Bart and Lisa, right?
right.
It's just the last appearance of Marvin Monroe, the psychiatrist.
Oh,
Whatever happened to that
man.
guy?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think my problem is so for me,
Yeah,
I get so into the final production of things that
yeah.
I'm never interested in the people behind the scenes
Oh yeah,
almost. Um
yeah,
especially when it comes to like cartoons unless I hear like their voice in something else and I'm like, "Oh, that's that Simpsons character or something like that."
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Mysterious disappearances.
I always wonder what the creators are thinking though about just kind of the psyche of everything. Are they trying to hint at something in a grand scheme? Are they trying to teach us a lesson here?
Yeah,
Is there a lesson in this episode?
I think that maybe the lesson is that crazy is subjective, right?
Mm, yeah,
Well, it kind of the whole episode leaves you thinking, hey, was Leon crazy or was he actually Michael Jackson?
yeah,
And then maybe we shouldn't be as quick to dismiss people as being crazy. So I don't know. I think
yeah.
this episode is in kind of
That's
support
it.
of respect for mental health issues and that, right? I don't know. It is me theorizing 25 years later. So I don't
Yeah,
know.
but is he crazy? Is he crazy? Is he really Michael Jackson, or is he not? That's what I was thinking at the time. That's what I was.
Yeah. I just broke the rule of my central rule of this show
Uh
that I never Google, and I just broke it by Googling. But I found like a really interesting bit of trivia. So I think they produced like a sequel to it, but it was never finished and
huh.
never aired. And I think they were planning on bringing back Leon, but this time making him act like Prince.
Mm,
Which would have been pretty wild.
that would have been
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, yeah. Rest in peace, both of them, man. I think 2016 was cruel. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
they finished off whoever was left in anyone of note. So
pop culture icons
yeah,
just start like boom, boom, left and
Eh,
right.
You know what was weird for me is like the ones who went pretty early in the year. I didn't really know them. You know, mad respect to them. I'm not speaking ill of the dead, but you know, I never really knew David Bowie's music, or you know, I never really knew a lot of the actors who went on early in the year. But when Ali went and Prince went, I was like, all right, man, this is getting kind of tense.
Prince. Again, like something that is not stereotypical of Black families, for us to be into Star Wars. But I felt some type of way when Princess Leia passed. You know? Oh
yeah, she went right at the end though, right? She went like late December.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's crazy. Hey man, you know, this show is all about fighting stereotypes, right? We've got two Black dudes here talking about cartoons, so like,
I'm with it 100%.
Sick. That's nice, man.
I dare somebody.
That's cool, man. Thanks for mentioning this episode. Like, it's crazy that this hasn't come up. Like, this is like a classic episode.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that with me.
No problem.
All right, man. Cool. Thanks for listening to that episode. However, I'm going to ask to hear your second episode.
So,
and you know, you've set the bar pretty high already. So.
My second episode that sort of relates to this is another music related episode is Bleeding Gums Murphy.
Oh man. Oh yeah.
And that's another saxophone thing for me.
Cool. So is this because he's been in a few? Which one is this? Is this
the first encounter? So Lisa first meets him. Not the I don't think it's correlated with the episode where he passes, but when she first discovers who he is. Yeah. And she's walking down, you know, the streets and the alleyways of, I don't know how she got out of the house without somebody being, but that goes back to like Homer and Marge's like irresponsibility and notorious for being irresponsible with their children. But, when she walked down the street alone with her saxophone and found this stranger, it reminds me of my dad, and my dad played saxophone. He smoked a lot, so he probably had some bleeding gums going on. and I mean, it just hits home when I think about that episode, because
it really kind of introduces us to Lisa's kind of jazz interest, right?
Yeah.
Before you see it with a saxophone, but there's no explanation to it, right? There's no. I think this is like a season 1 episode, so you've kind of gone back way into the archives.
Yeah.
Me, I hate season 1. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
It's like it's way too old.
It's a little like they're trying to find their mojo.
Yeah. Exactly. They're still trying to work out the kinks there.
Homer's voice is really weird.
Yes, right. It's like it's so deep for some reason. Yeah. He's got like this Fred Flintstone thing going on.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. It kind of disturbed me when I watched clips back, and I was like, "Oh gosh, no."
Yeah, when I go back and watch episodes, I started season 2, but I respect it. What I love about Bleeding Gums Murphy is that the random things we find out about his character. Isn't there an episode later where they reveal that he's like Dr. Hibbert's brother or something? Yeah. Am I making that up?
Yeah, he's related to some. Yeah.
Yeah, because he mentions it. He says something like, "Oh, I've got a brother who keeps laughing all the time," or something. And then Hibbert says, "Yeah, I've got a brother who plays the sax or something." It's, oh man, sorry, stop me rambling here. My other favorite scene, I don't know if it's this episode, but it's another Bleeding Gums Murphy episode, which is I think it's the one where he dies or something, right? And he's kind of retelling his life story.
And then there's a Mufasa-like cloud in the sky.
Like Darth Vader and all this. Like.
Yeah, exactly. It transforms over. That was my favorite part of the episode, where the clouds are transforming. It's like Simba, Luke.
Because they're voiced by the same guy, right? James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
What a voice! Yeah. What a voice!
He's incredibly talented.
But yeah, no. The other thing in the episode is like he's like telling Lisa how his life spiraled out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a scene of him, like he says he got addicted to buying Fabergé eggs, which
How?
It's, it's an expensive habit. It's like, but I loved it in that it was clearly a euphemism for cocaine or something,
Yeah.
right? There's like a scene of him
Yeah.
in an alleyway, like smashing open these Fabergé eggs. Like that's outrageous, man. I walked past a Fabergé shop one time.
Yeah.
I think it was Fabergé.
He talked about his gums, and he's like, I don't ever want to go to the dentist.
Yes.
Because the pain. Like, so I just leave it. And I was like, oh, that's so gross.
Wait.
When I think about it, because like I said, my dad used to play saxophone, and you know what kind of accumulates in those reeds. And
oh God.
Time and time again, and he doesn't like. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's making my stomach turn a little bit.
I hope our listeners aren't eating their dinner.
No, please don't. Whatever you're eating, disclaimer.
Do you play any instruments, or is it just vocals?
It's mostly vocals, and then I sample most of the instruments. So
right.
I learned how to read music, and I've learned how to I understand the basics of music, but I've never practiced an instrument for a long period of time. And so every time I sit down, I'm just plucking away until I hear something that sounds good, and then I play it by ear until it becomes something, and then loop it or transform it along the ways as I'm producing. So, and if I need something that's a little bit more thorough, then I'll hire a musician to actually play it for me. So I'm more of a producer than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Clearly, you know your strengths. I wish I could play an instrument, man. I don't know. I think I could. I think I'd be pretty good at drums. I don't know. I think I'm always drumming on things.
Drums,
but,
yeah.
You know, I'd have
you like rhythm.
Exactly. I don't have the discipline though to actually sit down and practice. So that's a pipe dream. Yeah. This is interesting, right? It's music like jazz that's the origins of hip hop, right? That's where that all stems from. So it's kind of like,
I think that's now that you say that, that's dawning on me as kind of probably why I turned to hip hop eventually. Because to begin my life, I never thought about becoming a musician. That was not a thought in my mind until I got up the confidence to perform in church choir. And then I got up the confidence to perform in front of other classmates. And then eventually, you know, I started making music and performing it in front of other people. To begin with, I always drew and made illustrations and things of that nature. So I would be drawing Simpsons characters. As a matter of fact, I got a Simpsons book from Universal, from Universal in Florida.
Oh wow, nice. Oh, so then eventually you took the leap into music.
Right. Yeah. Eventually I became a musician almost by accident. Because I never planned on it. But I fell more and more in love with it. I started writing first. So like poetry and things of that nature. Got up my confidence to sing in front of people. Got up my confidence to actually write raps. And then eventually it turned into something. And so it's very organic the way I became a musician.
Yeah.
And I guess that has some semblance as to why I'm growing and becoming more and more successful.
That's nice, man. That's
Thank you.
And all the best to you with that. You had some early success though, right? You had like a video on MTV, all right? Hope I didn't get that wrong.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Early on, in my career, my first commercial single was called "Breakfast and Biggie," and it got featured on MTV's Rap Fix, and that was almost by accident as well. So we made.
Hey, give yourself some credit, man.
we made a lot of the things that I do are in hindsight are usually not planned. Everything that I've planned has always gone wrong, and everything that I've gone by my gut has always gone right. And so when I submitted this music video to Sway,
Yeah.
I did not expect this to happen. I got really, really sick. Like almost bleeding gums Murphy sick.
Oh man. Jeez.
And I ended up in the ER. And I was just so stressed out from everything that I was doing. Basically, I was doing everything everybody else wanted me to do, and then that caused the stress. And when I came out of the ER, I got an email that I was going to be interviewed, but I missed the interview by just like a hair.
Man. Jeez.
Yeah, so I missed the interview, but they still aired the video. So now I have in this archive of, Sway and Ja Rule talking about my music, but I didn't get a chance to be in the conversation. So that was a eye opener for me. I said, never again will I allow people to tell me or dictate my future based on their limited beliefs.
Respect. That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
Listeners, take note. That's amazing. That's still, for real, man. And that's a pretty big deal though, right? Like, because Sway is iconic. Ja Rule pretty much ran hip hop for like the mid 2000s, right? Him and Ashanti.
So many hits. So many.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it at that time, how impactful that cosign was.
Yeah.
But when a hit maker says that this kid has something, then it resonated later on, for sure.
For real, man. Hey, mad respect for that. I used to spit myself, man.
Yeah, you did. Nice.
Yeah, I used to once upon a time. But,
is that where your handle comes from?
No. Okay. This one's we won't reveal my rap name.
No,
no, I don't know. The thing.
But did you enjoy it?
I loved it at the time.
Yeah.
At the time, I loved it because the thing about rap is that it's mad therapeutic to just like start writing lyrics.
It is,
and I think that at the time when I really got into it, my life was kind of like it was like a really good kind of escape to kind of start writing rhymes, and so I don't really need it anymore, which is I think is. I kind of feel like I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe I'm kind of living my life in a slightly better way that I don't need to kind of put my thoughts on paper as much. I don't know. Maybe this sounds crazy. Maybe podcasting is just a new rap for me.
That could be it. That could be it.
Yeah.
So I started rapping for the same reasons. I was continuously stressed out, and I was dealing with death in the family, and I was dealing with all types of all these other pressures, being bullied, et cetera, et cetera. But
sorry to hear that, man.
And when I was going through it, I started writing, and it became therapeutic.
Yes.
But now it's more so to help other people. That's why I think I'm more happy to do it still. And I still have something to say because I know other people gain something from it.
Yes, yeah. No, respect, man. I fully hear that, man. These are the kind of conversations guys should be having more. You know what I'm saying? There's
being open and
exactly
not so closed off and macho. I mean, I just think being too macho will lead to your detriment. At
for real.
some point.
You heard it here, folks. That's dope, man. Respect. Check out this guy's music. Don't check out my music. If you're lucky, if I remember some bars, I'll bring some up later. But,
okay.
I don't remember any right now. But anyways, sorry, back to this episode. Just a really random thing I just had a flashback of. No, in fact, it's not even this episode. I'm totally making that up. This the episode where Bleeding Gums Murphy dies and they get the whole cloud in the sky thing.
Yeah.
And Lisa's like playing his record on the local radio station. Now, there's two things here. The first thing is that those kind of local radio stations, they don't really exist here in the UK. And whenever I see them parodied on The Simpsons, I like it. It makes me laugh so much. Like, they always have crazy names like KBBL or something. It's always K something or W something.
You say
but it's always
in the UK.
I don't know. Like you have obviously local radio stations, but they exist less and less. Like they're really being bought up by the big networks, right?
Like BBC.
Kind of exactly. Yeah, the BBC have like a huge network of And a lot of the old kind of pirate stations became kind of commercialized. Like Kiss is a big station that used to be a pirate radio station.
Yeah.
Then they went legit.
Yeah.
It seems to be like all American radio stations have a name that's just a random collection of letters. Is that true?
It is. I worked in college radio while I was still in Arkansas, and it was KXUA, which is which is basically
what does that mean?
The K of University of Arkansas. So
all right. What I love is that it had like such a short broadcast range in this episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like 20 feet or something. Which is crazy. I don't know. There's this really popular comedy series in the UK called People Just Do Nothing. Have you heard of it?
I haven't.
Man, you need to check this out.
Okay.
It's especially if you've worked in radio. It's it's a BBC show, and it centers on some guys who run a pirate radio station, and the kind of hilarity around that. But it's I don't know if maybe it won't translate so well across the Atlantic because it's quite British. But the whole idea that radio is so quaint,
mm-hmm.
And there's just like a lot of humor in there.
Almost like here in the States, NPR and public radio, is kind of like really chill hipster vibes. Yeah. And so that might relate. I might be able to get it because I frequent stations like that.
Cool. Do you donate to NPR?
I haven't ever.
All right.
Usually because I don't donate to much of anything. Maybe that says something about my character.
That's all right.
But
that's cool.
But I like to let people who really, really are like that's their life to contribute to it. And I think there's always this confirmation bias that they have enough money, and so I don't donate. So that's probably one of my less popular traits is that I think people already got it, so I don't.
That's cool, man. That's it's perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
I just hope the other listeners don't think that. I have the worst habit. Have you ever come across these people on the street who get you to sign up to some charity direct debit? Man.
Sometimes people like to have petitions and things of that nature.
Oh yeah,
I've had that. I have that a lot, but I have anxiety when people come up to me on the streets because I'm from a very violent area.
Oh geez,
of the country. So in the 90s, when I'm watching The Simpsons, there's drive-bys happening in my town. So the town I'm from, Little Rock, Arkansas, has a HBO special called Bangin' in Little Rock that's all about gang violence in Arkansas. So that's outside of being a part of the national radar for inclusion and desegregation in the public high school with Little Rock 9 and that whole historic.
Oh yeah.
Not only is it known for that great thing, but it's also known for a very traumatic thing of violence in the 90s. So,
oh man, that's crazy. Yo, well, hey, listen, you made it out.
I'm paranoid still for some reason. So when people walk up to me, I just like, what do you want? It's usually a death when they come up.
And they're asking for money too? Nah, man. Don't worry. The last act of violence in Seattle was Cobain shooting himself. That joke was totally misguided. I watched this documentary 2 nights ago, and it's like a conspiracy theory.
Well, somebody punched a Nazi on the monorail.
Oh yeah. So did that happen there? All right.
Cool.
Well, salute to that guy. I saw this documentary 2 nights ago. It's a conspiracy theory kind of thing. They think that Courtney Love killed Kurt Cobain.
That's often, matter of fact, the first time I visited Seattle, there was a Nirvana exhibit at the museum.
Yes.
Yeah. And they kind of fish around that idea a little bit. they kind of walk around it, but they basically just said that, kind of their relationship was
Yeah,
something that kind of brought him to the edge. But I mean, who's
yeah,
to say? Who's to say
exactly.
nobody was ever in his head at any point in time? And that could have been the best part of his life is his relationship. So I don't know, but
True.
at the same time, there is that conspiracy theory.
Absolutely. It just basically have the worst lawyers in the world. So I just need to, I need to clarify his death was ruled as a suicide. I don't personally think Courtney Love killed Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, moving on. All right. So I think we covered our second episode very well.
Yeah,
thank you.
we did.
Bleeding Gumsworth is a classic character. However, I'm going to ask for your third episode.
Okay, so my third episode is for no rhyme or reason, really. It's because of the fact that it's so funny, and my brother and I really, really love how funny this episode is. It's the episode where Mr. Byrne becomes an alien. So I believe it's called Simpsons
Yes.
Files or something of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Oh my gosh. When he revealed himself to Homer and Homer freaked out, like, I come in peace. And like, it's just, that's the funniest thing to me. And every time I watch the clip, I burst out laughing. So that will never run dry for me, the entertainment that I get from that moment.
Yeah. So just a kind of a brief recap for listeners. This is the one where Homer sees Mr. Burns, sees an alien in the woods repeatedly. And then it's later revealed that it's actually Mr. Burns who weekly undergoes some weird treatment to make him glow green or something, right? That's basically it. It's called the Springfield Files. This one's weird in that. Did you ever watch the X-Files?
I would get glimpses of the X-Files, but never from the beginning of the episode to the end of the episode. Yeah. It would always be when I'm clicking through, it'd be the weirdest part of the episode. And I was always like, why do they never see any aliens? And then when they finally got to an episode where they actually saw some aliens and got abducted, I think it was Scully or one of the characters got abducted, and that was the most terrifying episode ever. So I was just like, nope, I'm not dealing with this. So I was like, skip.
Back to cartoons.
If TiVo was around at that time, I would have.
Yeah, it's pretty niche, right? It's kind of like if you didn't get into that kind of subculture, then it's hard to get into it. But I think,
did you like it?
Yeah, but I only revisited it years after it aired. So I only started I watched them all, but like 2 years ago. Like a good 10 years after it finished.
Is it better then? Better now versus then?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think it's nice. You get some nostalgic elements watching it, 20 years later, and you notice more of the comedy, right? Because it's actually a really funny show at times. There's episodes that are strictly comedy, right? And those shine more when you kind of watch them in quick succession. So I recommend them, but it's like 200 episodes. So if you ever,
I just think I'm so when as a person looking from the outside in that didn't watch episodes on a regular basis, I think what our expectation is that every single episode we're going to see some aliens.
Yeah.
And so when people didn't get that, then it turned some people off and it kept some people watching.
Yeah. I think you're absolutely right. My favorite bit in this episode is when Mulder and Scully show up at Moe's Tavern, and Moe's got these whales in the back that he's stolen from SeaWorld. Right, but he's got to keep them alive by like hosing them down with water every so often.
Moe's pretty prominent in this episode.
Oh yeah,
because he gives like Homer a breathalyzer test before he wanders into the woods.
Oh right, I see.
If I'm not mistaken, yeah, and that's how Homer, because Homer has to walk home.
Yes, that's right.
He's so twisted, and he finally gets out there, and then he bumps into Mr. Burns, has this close encounter. you know.
Yeah, I feel like why this episode is so good is that they bring out these like random side characters like Mo, like Buns and Smithers and all.
Right.
It's the extra characters that really kind of make the show, right? I mean, the family are cool, but it's the town of characters that are the real key to The Simpsons.
Yeah, they have to have somebody to interact with. They have to have some
Yeah,
comedic relief in a way.
yeah.
And usually those characters are some of that, you know.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I fully hear that. Um, it's also it's interesting that this wasn't like a Halloween episode, right? Like they could have,
No, it
yeah,
wasn't. But I think I like that part.
yeah. Right,
Because I am not a big fan of the Halloween episodes,
yeah, yeah.
personally.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't like? Hey, I love them. I mean, they only come once a year, right?
Yeah, they only come once a year. It's usually a pretty big event, but I usually think that I think I'm a thrill junkie in a sense.
Yeah,
So when somebody says something is going to be spooky or scary, I want it to actually be spooky or scary
right. I see.
a
Yeah,
little bit. And so I just find the episodes humorous. And so it's not like I hate them. I just have this expectation, this false expectation that they're going to be spooky.
I hear that fully. What's interesting is that Halloween is a much bigger thing in the US than it is in the UK.
Mhm.
Aside from like the last 5 or 10 years, Halloween was not really a thing in the UK, and it's kind of becoming increasingly a thing each year.
Is it Party Central now?
Not quite, but there's a slow creeping Americanization. But I think that The Simpsons is partly responsible for that kind of introduction of Halloween into
Yeah.
British culture and making it more of a deal.
That
I don't know.
sounds like a perfectly plausible theory. You know, like it makes all
Yeah,
the sense in the world. Because our worlds are
yeah,
becoming ever more like connected, right? It's easier to
yeah,
get somebody else's culture now. You know, my
yeah,
girlfriend
yeah.
is a
Fully.
pastry chef, and she watches Great British Bake
All
Off,
right, yeah.
and the difference between cooking shows in here in the United States, which seem like it's watered down Kool-Aid to, in my opinion, versus Great British Bake Off, which is excellently like well produced, and everybody's polite, and everybody's like the criticism is like real criticism to me.
Right.
I
Wait,
like that culture shock there. It's just so
you
great.
you you never seen any of Gordon Ramsay shows? Those are not polite. Those
Those are the
you ever seen those?
most exciting though. I love watching them. I love
I
watching
heard he
Gordon
makes
Ramsay.
$250,000 per episode. He makes $250,000 to shout at people.
Yeah.
I need to get that job. Put me up. That's
I
I don't know.
I'm a military guy, so
Oh yeah,
that's the impression that I get from him. Is he runs his operations like military-esque with a lot of discipline.
yeah,
And so when he's shouting
yeah.
at people, like I don't hear shouting, I hear
Oh
get
yeah,
your shit together because you're fucking up.
yeah.
That's what I hear.
I mean, that's probably a direct quote. But you know what's funny is that here's what's crazy is that have you ever seen? So his daughter has a show where it's like a kid's version of these cooking shows. She makes quite simple recipes.
I
And
did
it's
not know that.
presented for. Yeah, it's weird. I only caught it once accidentally. I was flicking through channels sometime. I didn't even know what channel it was on. I didn't go looking for it. But anyways, I came across it. And what's weird is that he plays like a background role in this
Mhm.
show. But he's like the nicest guy in it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it's a kid's show, he's all like nice and friendly in it, which is like direct opposite. And so I don't know if this guy's like slightly like crazy. I don't know.
It is so strange to see Gordon Ramsay like consoling somebody or being nice to kids because
Yeah.
and I think that's
He's a
just
monster
because
in the other one,
he
right?
doesn't deal with ignorance. He has
Yeah.
no place for ignorance, and he expects kids to be ignorant, and he expects
Yeah.
people to kind of grow from their ignorance. But what he doesn't tolerate is when people ignore their ignorance.
It sounds reasonable when you put it that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But,
Maybe I
I
shouldn't
feel
make him
like,
so reasonable. It's going to ruin his career. I single-handedly on this podcast have ruined Gordon Ramsay's career. So I have swept the rug from underneath it, and now I have no entertainment on YouTube.
jeez. Just again, because I have the worst lawyers, I don't think Gordon Ramsay is literally a monster, and I'm sure he's pretty. I'm sure he's pretty cool guy, and he's very clearly a
I
skilled
kind
chef.
of want to hang out with him.
Enough of that. Yeah. Man, I can't cook, man.
You can't.
I'm like, I can like make cereal and toast. That's the level of kitchen skill I have, man. I can microwave. I'm a microwave specialist.
Nice.
I can microwave.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, with the masculinity thing, the men in my household mostly did a lot of cooking. So that was non-traditional about my house. That I saw guys cooking all the time. And so I learned a lot of tips and tricks from my grandfather and my father, who both love to cook.
Nice. Respect. That's I wish I had that. You said you're a military man.
I spent a little time in the Air Force. I say very little time because when I got in, originally I was going to go to the Marines, but I swapped to the Air Force. And when I got in, I got to basic, and because I'm flat-footed, I was training and exercising, and then all of a sudden I hear I hear and feel this pop in my ankle, and something about my foot just kind of like there's like a connecting kind of plate or bone that dislodged.
Oh man,
in my foot, and so it set me out. And so instead of going through basic or sitting for 6 to 8 weeks after surgery, which would have taken probably another 6 to 8 weeks, which in hindsight, now that I think about it, I should have stayed because I would have been paid for all that time. But
all right.
Instead, I just got out because I hate wasting time.
No, that's perfectly understandable. I hope that didn't coincide with any wars. Because I mean, if it did, then you dodged the bullet literally.
I got in right as the Iraq War was kind of ramping up.
Oh man, all right, yeah, that's probably the best time to get out. That's like, anyways,
perfect time.
Right, cool. All right, man. Yeah, listen, thank you for that episode and all three: the Bleeding Gums, the Michael Jackson, the Springfield Files. Those are all three really, really good choices. So, thanks for sharing that with us and the listeners and me. Yeah, cool. So, as I said, thanks for those episodes. But yeah, let's talk a bit about the kind of characters of Springfield. Is there any you particularly like, or is there anything you've observed?
I like that the creators are so sort of aware and observant of the actualities and the realities of kind of suburban America or middle class America.
Yeah.
And it's so intriguing to know that they can hit the nail on the head as to what the typical dad character is like, what the typical mom character is like.
Yeah.
And all these other things. Now, this is probably one reason why it doesn't relate to a lot of Black families, but it's pretty traditional as it goes for middle class families. So I think it's pretty awesome, that they can make those correlations.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and it's true because for a long time, The Simpsons was for me my only real window into what American life was like, right? I mean, and
Mhm.
other TV as well, but The Simpsons kind of satirized it so well, right? This was like a really good insight
Yeah.
into that world, and so because the characters have so much depth, I feel like I'm almost living in a kind of American suburbia. I don't know.
Yeah, the biggest
Yeah.
satire, I think, are usually around the religious characters. So
Oh yeah.
Reverend Lovejoy
Yes.
and
Yes.
Ned, because I grew up in the church, but
Yes.
it's different again in
Yeah.
a Black Baptist church versus Southern White Baptist church. Like
Right. Yes.
that that those characters are more reflective of what was going on in white churches, in my
Mm.
opinion.
That's fascinating.
and and
That's absolutely right.
that's what they when I would visit white churches, that's exactly what they
Yeah.
would sound like. They would sound like Reverend Lovejoy.
So I think they once mentioned what denomination they were, but like, it was like a made up one. It was something like Anglo Presbyterian. It was like some
Anglo,
Canadian, some bogus name.
which is very funny, right? Oh man,
I don't know.
oh man. It's just, as I grew older, I realized how funny Ned Flanders sounds whenever
Yeah.
he's I guess in his opinion bringing the good news to people.
Sorry, I just googled what denomination they were. I got it
What?
now. It was called the Western Branch of American Reform Presbylutheranism. Presbylutheranism. What? Anyways, yeah, there you go. So it's outrageous.
Oh man. Which,
sorry to interrupt you there.
Which kind of hails back to I don't know if the creators are atheists, but kind of hails back to their thoughts on religion overall, which don't really that aren't really reflective of my thoughts. I think a little bit differently than the church I grew up with, and also I think a little bit differently than those archetypes in the show.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
overall, I just think they hit the nail on the head.
It's a great observation, man. Do you have like a favorite character outside of the family?
Homer is my favorite character.
Outside of the family.
Outside of the family.
That's what makes it a hard question.
Outside of the family, I think it would be Ralph.
All right.
Because Ralph is so hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Ralph, because of his just stupidity. Like, he's so out there. But every once in a while, I'll have a Ralph thought, and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, there's a little Ralph in all of us.
There is a little Ralph in all of us. Which is perfect.
That's dope, man.
By the way, if you ever hear again, hit me up, because I will take you to Legendary Donuts, where they have a donut called the Homer. And enjoy that.
Definitely. Thanks. That's sick. Cool. All right, man. So we are regrettably coming to the end here, but this has been a fantastic journey into your mind and into your life and mine to an extent. So thank you for sharing that all with us. No problem. Cool. So where can the listeners find you? Any final words, any final plugs, any of that?
Yeah, so definitely, if anybody searches on Google Wordplay TJay, you'll find all of my music, whether it be on Apple Music, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. So all of those places. I don't mean to like kind of downplay my plug there, but I think most people are going to Google me anyway if they're looking for it. Right now, I have a single called "Someone Else's Dream" that's doing pretty well on Spotify. So if you want to go on Spotify and look up "Someone Else's Dream" and give that a spin, put it in a playlist, share it with somebody else, I greatly appreciate it, because it's starting to get the attention of other people. And the song talks about what my mantra is for my fan base. My fan base is all about bringing music to the underdogs. And so that song is talking about not living out somebody else's dream for the sake of a 9 to 5 job. And so it really resonates with people.
That's a powerful message for real.
Thank you. And I'm doing that, and I'm continuing to build up to my next